to our fourth episode of Elevate FCS, where we share trends, tips, and tools from the FCS industry to help you, our FCS teachers, and your students find success. On each episode this year, we will be featuring a guest speaker from an area of the FCS industry to learn about different career opportunities, resources for teachers, and industry trends. In today's episode, we are focusing on the recreation side of hospitality, tourism, and recreation. Today, I am joined by Kari Guastella, who is a current Hospitality and Tourism Management Master's Program Coach at San Diego State University. Kari has been involved in the recreation industry since 2010, working for the cities of Cupertino, Mountain View, Los Altos, Burlingame, and Belmont. She has a BA in Philosophy from CSU Long Beach and an MS in Hospitality and Tourism Management from San Diego State University. In her current role as a coach, she brings her years of industry knowledge and wisdom to mentor and guide current graduate students in the hospitality, tourism, and recreation industries. We're excited for Kari to be with us today to share about her career in the recreation industry, what's new in the industry, and career opportunities for our FCS students. Welcome, Kari, and thank you so much for being here with us. To start, can you share with us a little more about your background and how you found the recreation industry?
Sure, thanks for having me. I actually did a lot of work with nonprofits in high school and in college, and at Cal State Long Beach, I found the recreation major because it had a management and nonprofit and volunteer services aspect to it, and I kind of dove into that at the end of my college career and ran with it. And then I found when I got into the nonprofit world that it was very individualized. So I would be working with one specific sector, whereas in the recreation world, I was able to be passionate about building stronger communities and building up sort of every aspect. So youth, teens, active adults, seniors, sports, all that kind of things. And I didn't have to worry about funding because a lot of our funding came from taxes and grants, as opposed to in the nonprofit world, we were always having to kind of stick to a very specific way of doing things in order to ensure funding. So it gave me more freedom as a professional, as well as letting me kind of help out a wider number of people in the community.
All right. We have all probably had some interaction with the recreation industry, but we may not have realized that's who we were interacting with. So could you give us a breakdown of what really is involved in the recreation industry and its role within the larger hospitality, tourism, and recreation?
I would say that most people interact with municipal recreation predominantly. Municipal recreation will be your city parks and rec departments, and you'll see that with outdoor concerts in the park, movies in the park itself, all of these summer camps, after school enrichment programs, the parades. The recreation industry also encompasses kind of sports, performing arts, hobbies, national parks, county parks, but most people will be running into the recreation industry in a park-facing basis or in special events. That has really bled over into hospitality and tourism because a lot of that is the draw to a community. Using San Diego as a great example, because that has a huge tourism draw, amazing hotels down on the waterfront. However, people don't come specifically because of the hotel. They come because there's a new ice skating rink or roller skating rink on the waterfront. They come for the beaches and the parks. They come for yoga in the park. They come to play pickleball. They come for the fun side of things. And what recreation really does is it provides that opportunity for hobbies, for fun, for engagement. That is the draw for a community and the draw to be able to go places.
I think that really gives a good overview of how the recreation is that link of why people come to our hotels and what we can add to when they're coming for conferences or conventions. Of it's the fun part, why we love our hotels, and they can be fun. It's not why we're going to go travel or why we're going to leave our homes and participate in our community. Over the past decade, how have you seen the industry evolve from when you started working in it to now? And what do you see changing or evolving in the next 10 years or so?
I would say that the number one thing that you need to be aware of when working or engaging in Parks and Rec industry is community engagement and being able to understand what a community needs and then meeting those needs. And that's sort of a tricky thing, to be able to understand what a community wants, what a community needs. Because sometimes, like you said, things are evolving. So sometimes some of the evolving things have come up as the concept of micro adventures. So it didn't used to be a thing to put all of this activity into our parks. So you should just be like, great, here's the park. Here's an open space. There's a trail. You're welcome. You can go hiking on it. Now what we get to do is see, okay, what's popular, what's going on right now, and we're putting in more races like Ironmans or like mud races, putting in stand-up paddleboarding, roller skating rinks, things like that, kind of trying to keep people active and having fun while being active, having fun while getting outside. Definitely the pandemic shifted things. A lot more people were discovering outdoor recreation and getting outside, and how can you do that in a fun way, as well as kind of the sports and leisure sides of things, like, you know, pickleball gaining in popularity over the years. But it doesn't matter if it was 10 years ago or 30 years ago, people like to have fun. And it's just about kind of staying on top of what are people looking for, what are people wanting to see in their community. One of the really fun things about having worked for a number of different cities is that every single city has had really unique things about it, and each community has wanted something different. For example, when I worked for the city of Cupertino, it was very driven city, very academic driven. I had a number of our teens at the teen center that were writing apps and selling them. They're all wanting to go to Stanford or Ivy League schools. So if we did something that was just purely fun, we did a teen dance or we did a movie in the park, nobody came. Nobody wanted that. They were not interested in it. Now, if we brought in a TED Talk style lecture to the library, it was at capacity and people were calling the fire marshal in order to try and get more people out of there so that they could keep their seats in it. And so you kind of have to get out there, talk to people at events, talk to the community, see what's going on. Another big part of my job has been reading what we're doing, basically taking a look at it and saying, okay, are we reaching all the members of our community? Are we having things for representatives of youth, of the teens, of seniors? What part of our community are we not reaching? Is there a socioeconomic element to it? Are we paying attention to having events near bus stops? One of the ways that we kind of attacked that one is we used to always have movies in the park at our big main park center of town. Not everybody could get to that. So we started taking it on tour, is what we were calling it. So then we took our big outdoor screen and the sound setup, and we took it to all the different smaller parks around the community so that there was something for everybody that they could get to. Another one that we looked at is park poor neighborhoods. How quickly can somebody get to a park or get to a playground? When I worked for the city of Belmont, that city is very much built in a canyon. There's nowhere for people to learn how to ride a bike. And so when we put in a new park, what we actually looked at doing is putting in flat surfaces, which was not easy on the side of a canyon, but we built a whole bike path around the park and around the playground that was flat and that had like kind of directional arrows. And it was hugely popular because people had a chance on a flat surface to bike, to scooter, to roller skate. And that gave them something that was lacking in all of our other parks, because all of our other parks had hills. So one of the really fun things is to just kind of look at trends nationwide, but also look at trends within the community, because those two communities are just a few miles apart, but what they needed was vastly different.
I love how you touched on how every community is unique and has different needs. And especially if we're looking at communities all over California, they're so varied, even from Bay Area to Central Valley, down south to greater LA area I could see if you have a career in recreation and working in Parks and Rec, you could travel the state and your job is going to look so different anywhere. Absolutely. And always be evolving and changing just as our generations of young people grow up and how we're able to serve them throughout their lives. So in talking of all of these trends and things that are evolving in the industry, what are some skills that our students in high school who are interested in having a career in recreation, what should they be focusing on developing so they can be successful in their careers?
I think that's a great question that not enough people ask themselves before getting into an industry. The number one thing that you need to do is figure out what you're interested in and what you're unique at and how you can bring that to a company or to a department. One of the really important skills that I find is not necessarily taught a lot is the soft skills. It's the people skills. It's being able to just talk to someone and hear what's going on. I'll give you an example. I'm in the city of Chico, which is far north California. We have some youth programs that are going on. Our recreation department canceled them because we didn't get enough people signed up. I happen to know that one of the people that was in a class that was signed up has 3 kids and trying to juggle a schedule for 3 different kids at 3 different locations. That class was chosen very specifically because it worked. And you can't just move to a different class. Had she known that it was going to get canceled, she would have filled that class up in a heartbeat simply because that's something that was important to her. It would have worked for her schedule. And the skill that was really needed there was talk to the people who are in the class, talk to the people who are on the sports team, talk to the people who are at an event. This would be a phenomenal career for people who like to talk to other people. And if you're not somebody who enjoys just straight up starting a conversation with the person standing next to you in line, which is me, that's not my thing. That makes me nervous. Then you got to figure out what would be something that works. So social media is one way that you can do it. How can you have an engaging social media? That's something that a lot of us really struggle with. How do we ask questions and get responses? How do we get people tagging us in photos or in videos? Basically, how do we get community engagement? So really that soft skill of how do I talk to people? How are they perceiving me? What's my skill set that I bring to the table? That's something to really kind of consider, because within the recreation industry, you can really follow your passion wherever you want. We run performing arts centers, so we have people that work for us who have degrees in theater arts. We also run sports centers, junior giant. So having a background in sports is a really amazing aspect to it. We also have open space. You can be a park ranger and then you don't really have to talk to people very often. You really just need to know a lot about trees. And that's a unique side of thing. We do moonlit hikes. So really we have a wide variety of things that you can actually do, like the work, the day-to-day work. But the skills to start learning is the soft skills in talking to people, engaging with people, and on the flip side, listening and hearing what they have to say, then taking what they have to say, and how can we then start implementing that into events, into classes. I think that the longer you're in a career, the more stuck you get. So that's something that I run up against is somebody who's worked for the same place for 20 years. Oh, we've tried that. We've done that before. Cool. Maybe that didn't work 15 years ago, but there's a different audience now. So being able to have that flexibility to talk to someone, listen, and then be able to implement that. But that's very much a soft skill. That's not something that you just study and take notes on. That's something you kind of practice by joining clubs, joining activities, and try to talk to people and implement it. And if you can do that, then when you're applying for a job, you can say, hey, I don't have a lot of work experience, but I was in this club, we found this problem, and this is how we solved it. And that will make you hugely successful in an interview scenario and show you're someone that is capable of handling pretty much any role.
I like how you pointed out that it doesn't have to necessarily come naturally. Like if it does come naturally, that if you're love talking to people and starting up conversations, but it doesn't have to come that way, we can work on that. I know listening and speaking in our student organization, FCCLA, those are definitely things that are very well taught and they're able to practice in different leadership roles and their competitive events. But reminding ourselves that it's okay if it doesn't come naturally, we can put the work in and develop that skill to help set us apart from the other young adults who may be applying for these jobs.
Absolutely. I would also say that getting to know yourself and getting to know what makes you comfortable or what your specific skill set is so crucial, because there is a role for all different types of personalities. We were at the San Diego Zoo and talking about a couple of the students who were struggling to find their place within an industry. And what we ended up talking about is that some of our roles are really great for that Labrador Retriever, that Golden Retriever kind of personality where they're over the top excited about everything, love talking to everybody. That's a great person to get out there and run events and run sports programs because they are so energetic, so excited. We have other types of people who have a personality that's maybe quiet, more reserved, and what we discovered is that working with our senior citizens might be a really great fit for that, because they don't need somebody who's going to talk a million miles a minute. They need somebody who's a little bit quieter, who's willing to listen to their stories that are quite honestly very interesting and their experiences that are phenomenal, and be able to work with that audience. At the same time, if you have a lot of compassion, working with teens is a really great place to be, because I found that our teens have a lot of passion for what they're doing. They haven't hit life to its fullest and the workforce to its fullest. And that's a really fun place to be able to listen and work with somebody. And so really, there is a place for your personality, no matter what it is that you're interested in and no matter what your skill set is. I've worked at places where I'm the loudest person in the room, and I've worked at places where I am the quietest person in the room. You just have to know yourself and, again, work on, it's not about you, it's about what's going on in your community, and being able to listen and take that information that you find and turn it into something.
So we have lots of students all over California that are enrolled in hospitality, child development programs, and they're taking these classes in their school thinking about future careers. But many of them have probably not thought about a career in the recreation industry. So what type of career opportunities could they look forward to, and where could they start now, and where could they build to?
Yes, now is the time to start. I wish I had found it so much earlier. Now is the time to start. There are a million part-time jobs that you could get, maybe do one at a time. I did like 5 at a time because I got excited and I kept taking on roles, but maybe start with one at a time. If you look at any of the cities in your area, calops.org is a really great place. It's calopps.org. That's where all of the jobs are going to be listed statewide, and everything from a summer lifeguard position all the way up to director of a department where you're making big bucks. So basically, that's an opportunity to get a position where you could be a rec leader and you could work at a senior center, you could work with a preschool, you could work with the teen center, or you could be working a special event, community-wide yard sale, a parade. Literally, I held the stop go sign for a parade in my community. I didn't even know that that was a job, but it was super fun. And I got to meet all the different organizations that were in the parade and got to be a part of the parade. There's also people who carry light sticks for the parade in the dark. There is people who work the popcorn machine at a summer concert. There's a lot of different opportunities where you get to get out into the actual events, you get to get into the industry, you get to get into the different rec centers or performing arts centers or sports centers or working the trails. We always have projects going on, such as repairing like fences or adding things to the trail. basically, I would just strongly recommend getting out there and trying a bunch of different things, especially when you have an opportunity to work part-time, work 10 hours a week, or I'm just going to work special events, and we'll have 10 different special events over the course of a semester. That's not work that you have to do on a daily basis, but you can go be a part of what's going on and start seeing what interests you and what doesn't interest you.
It was really good to see that. I think this is definitely one industry that our students can start now. They can start in high school.
Absolutely.
They're perfect jobs for throughout college and have so many opportunities to see where is my role in the recreation industry and what do I want to specialize in, and being able to have the time to figure it out when our students are still young and still learning. It's such a hands-on career.
Absolutely. Yes, very much so. And there's a lot of diversity, again, kind of based on regional where you are. So in San Diego, you might be running beachfront events, work for ski resorts, and for the mountain, you could be running things in the desert. There's a huge diversity depending on where you are regionally and where you want to be as well.
Well, Kari, it has been wonderful talking with you and learning about your career, how the recreation industry has grown and adapted to our different populations, and how our students can start finding success to build this as a career. Do you have any final advice for our FCS teachers or their students on how they can be best prepared for careers in the recreation industry?
I would say start being creative, thinking of cool ideas, neat things that you would want to do in your community, and then look around, see, are those things happening? Are they not happening? Would other people be interested in it? And really start getting a feel for how you can make an impact on your community with things that you're interested in and with your personal creativity, because it takes a lot of different types of people to really represent a community. But it starts with looking and listening and working on yourself and your skills to be able to make an impact. And then if you get into it, it's like, congratulations. There are so many jobs and careers that can take you from this part-time status all the way up to making six figures and running a massive department. There's a lot of opportunities, and I would really encourage people to take a look now so that when you graduate college, you're really prepared and you know what you want to do and where you want to work, and you'll have a leg up on people who didn't start now.
Well, I want to thank Kari again for joining us for this episode. Stay tuned next month for our next episode of Elevate FCS as we learn more about opportunities for FCS teachers and students and industry trends.